Welcome to KCA Production. If you love world-class content on power, achievement, and the people who shape our world, hit subscribe right now and ring the notification bell. We're KCA Production and we bring you the world. Behind every great film, there's a visionary who believed in it first, who raised the money, assembled the talent, fought the studios, and refused to give up. They are the movie producers. From the golden age of Hollywood to the digital streaming era, the Americas have produced some of the most powerful, creative, and influential film producers in the history of cinema. Today, KCA Production counts down the top 40 movie producers of all time from North and South America, spanning 1960 to 2026, ranked by the number of films produced, commercial success, audience appeal, personal wealth, and the value of their production firms, and the achievements and struggles across the decades. We start at number 40 and climb all the way to the greatest producer the Americas has ever seen. Let's begin. At number 40, we open in Brazil with Walter Salles, the director-producer whose work placed South American cinema on the global awards map. Born in Rio de Janeiro in 1956, Salles co-founded Video Films and produced Central Station, which earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Foreign Language Film in 1999. His production of The Motorcycle Diaries brought the young Che Guevara to global audiences. Salles has championed authentic South American storytelling for 3 decades, and Video Films remains one of Brazil's most respected production houses. And number 39 is Gail Ann Hurd, one of the most important female producers in early Hollywood history. A graduate of Stanford University, Hurd founded Valhalla Entertainment and produced The Terminator in 1984 alongside James Cameron, launching one of the most lucrative franchises in cinema history. She went on to produce Aliens, The Abyss, Armageddon, and the global television phenomenon The Walking Dead. At a time when women were nearly invisible in the producing ranks, Hurd built a body of work defined by large-scale ambition and commercial mastery. And number 38 is George Sanchez, the architect of Mexico's modern state film production infrastructure. As Director General of IMCINE, Mexico's National Film Institute, and a key figure in FOPROCIN, Sanchez spent decades steering public funding toward films that would define contemporary Mexican cinema, including works by Carlos Regadez, Ahmet Escalante, and Michael Franco. His institutional vision helped Mexican auteur cinema win international awards across Cannes, Venice, and Berlin throughout the 2000s and 2010s, giving Mexican voices global platforms they would not otherwise have had. And number 37 is Rodrigo Teixeira, a Brazilian producer who built artsy features into one of the most critically acclaimed independent production companies in the world. Born in Sao Paulo, Teixeira co-produced Barry Jenkins' Moonlight, which won the Academy Awards for Best Picture in 2017, and Luca Guadagnino's Call Me By Your Name, which earned 4 Oscar nominations. His taste for intimate, director-driven cinema with universal emotional reach has made artsy features a global brand. Teixeira is proof that South American producing talent can compete at the very highest level of world cinema. And number 36 is Lucy Fisher, a veteran Hollywood producer and studio executive who co-founded Red Wagon Entertainment with her husband Douglas Wake. Fisher held senior positions at Warner Bros. And Sony Pictures before focusing on independent production. Red Wagon's credits include the epic Gladiator, which won the Academy Award for Best Picture in 2001, and a range of diverse projects spanning animation, prestige drama, and action. Fisher has been a steady, respected force in Hollywood for over 4 decades and a consistent advocate for women in senior producing roles. And number 35 is Arthur Cohn, one of the most decorated independent producers in Hollywood history, with 6 Academy Awards for Best Documentary or Best Foreign Language film across its career. Born in Basel, Switzerland, Cannes champion European and international cinema at a time when Hollywood had little appetite for it, securing distribution and recognition for films that went on to win Oscars. His unique position, bridging European sensibility, and American studio reach made him a singular figure, a producer whose golden touch spanned 6 decades. At number 34 is Scott Rudin, one of the most commercially and critically successful producers in Broadway and Hollywood history, whose credits include some of the finest American films of the past 3 decades. His productions earned dozens of Academy Awards, including Best Picture nominees No Country for Old Men, The Social Network, and True Grit. Rudin is one of the very few EGOT producers. His career ended abruptly in 2021 following widespread reporting of abusive workplace behavior towards staff, a cautionary chapter in the broader reckoning Hollywood has faced over the treatment of employees at its most powerful level. At number 33 is Mariela Bezvesky, the Argentine-born producer who built Tonasol Films into one of the most important production and distribution companies in Spanish-language cinema. Working between Argentina, Spain, and Latin America, Bezvesky produced The Motorcycle Diaries and Steven Soderbergh's Landmark. Tonasol has championed Latin American stories across more than 40 productions, building a distribution infrastructure that gave independent Ibero-American cinema a route to theatrical screens across dozens of countries. Her work has been essential to the internationalization of Latin American film. At number 32 is Joel Silver, one of the architects of the Hollywood action blockbuster, whose Silver Picture produced some of the most commercially dominant franchise films of the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s. Born in South Orange, New Jersey in 1952, Silver produced the Lethal Weapon series, Die Hard, Predator, and Wachowski Sisters Matrix trilogy, one of the most influential science fiction franchises ever made. His films have grossed over $5 billion worldwide. Silver understood action cinema as pure spectacle, and his productions defined the genre for a generation of global audiences. At number 31 is Arnon Milchan, the Israeli-American billionaire producer, whose new Regency Productions has one of the most astonishing slates in Hollywood history. Born in Rehovot, Israel in 1944, Milchan produced Leon's Once Upon a Time in America, Terry Gilliam's Brazil, Pretty Woman, L.A., Confidential, Fight Club, and 12 Years a Slave, which won Best Picture in 2014. With a personal net worth exceeding $4 billion and a production company valued in the hundreds of millions, Milchan has backed bold original cinema across 6 decades and dozens of acclaimed films. At number 30 is Dede Gardner, co-president of Plan B Entertainment and one of the most powerful women in contemporary Hollywood. Founded with Brad Pitt, Plan B has produced an extraordinary run of Best Picture winners and nominees: 12 Years a Slave, Moonlight, The Big Short, and Selma. Gardner's production instincts lean toward challenging socially urgent stories told with uncompromising artistry. Under her leadership, Plan B has become one of the few production companies in Hollywood with a consistent record of both critical triumph and meaningful cultural impact, a genuinely rare combination. At number 29 is Mario Casar, the Lebanese-American producer who co-founded Carolco Pictures and helped define Hollywood action cinema in the 1980s and early 1990s. Casar produced the Rambo franchise, Total Recall, Terminator 2: Judgment Day, one of the most expensive and successful films of its era, Basic Instinct, and Cliffhanger. At its peak, Carolco was competing directly with the major studios, funding its films independently and selling international rights in advance. Casar's aggressive risk-taking, producing style produced some of the most iconic films of his generation before Carlocco's eventual bankruptcy in 1995. At number 28 is Christine Vachon, the producer who more than anyone else built the infrastructure for American independent queer cinema. Co-founder of Killer Films, Vachon has produced over 80 films including Boys Don't Cry, which launched Hilary Swank's career and won the Oscar for Best Actress, Far From Heaven, Carol, and Still Alice. Working with directors like Todd Haynes and Kimberly Peirce, Vachon has spent 30 years championing stories that mainstream Hollywood ignored, won awards across Cannes, Venice, and the Academy Awards, and permanently expanded what American cinema is allowed to say. At number 27 is Alejandro Gonzalez, the Mexican director-producer whose films have won back-to-back Academy Awards for Best Picture and Best Director, making him the only third filmmaker in history to achieve that. Born in Mexico City in 1963, Alejandro launched his career with Visceral Amores Perros, Unveiled 321 Grams, and the globe-spanning Babel to Birdman and The Revenant. As producer of his own projects through Leyenda Films, he has exercised total creative control over some of the most audacious filmmaking of the 21st century. At number 26 is Don Simpson, one half of the most commercially dominant producing partnership in 1980s Hollywood. Alongside Jerry Bruckheimer, Simpson produced Flashdance, Beverly Hills Cop, Top Gun, and a string of high-concept with high-octane blockbusters that redefined the commercial film landscape. Simpson was the volatile creative force behind the partnership, a man of enormous film instinct and equally destructive personal demons. His death in 1996 from drug-related causes cut short one of the era's most explosive producing careers. His films, however, remain benchmarks of the blockbuster era he helped create. At 25 is Kathleen Kennedy, one of the most successful film producers in history, with credits spanning over $11 million in worldwide box office. Born in Winslow, Arizona in 1952, Kennedy co-founded Amblin Entertainment with Steven Spielberg and Frank Marshall, producing E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, Schindler's List, and dozens more. In 2012, she became president of Lucasfilm, overseeing the revival of the Star Wars franchise for the Disney era. Kennedy is a rare producer whose name is a genuine mark of quality and whose career spans nearly every major development in Hollywood over the past 40 years. At number 24 is Moctezuma Esparza, a pioneering Mexican-American producer who has spent 50 years fighting to bring Latino and underrepresented stories to American screens. Co-founder of Esparza Cats Productions, Esparza produced Jennifer Lopez star-making vehicle Selena, Robert Redford's The Mexico Bienfield War, the Civil War epic Gettysburg, and the Emmy-winning Introducing Dorothy Dandridge. He has also been a fierce advocate for diversity in the film industry and has mentored generations of Latino filmmakers. His career is a testament to persistence, purpose, and the power of representation. At number 23 is Brian Grazer, co-founder of Imagine Entertainment alongside Ron Howard, and one of the most commercially successful independent producers in Hollywood history. Born in Los Angeles in 1951, Grazer has produced films and television shows that have collectively earned over $15 billion at the worldwide box office and won numerous Academy Awards, including Best Picture for A Beautiful Mind. His producing style combines mainstream accessibility with genuine artistic ambition, a rare balance. Grazer has produced everything from Splash and Apollo 13 to 8 Mile and American Gangster, demonstrating a breadth that few producers can match. At number 22 is Oprah Winfrey, the media mogul who built Apple Films into a production powerhouse dedicated to telling stories about Black women's lives with unflinching honesty. Born in Kosciuszko, Mississippi in 1954, Winfrey made her acting debut in The Color Purple, which she later produced. Her production of Beloved, the Toni Morrison adaptation, was a passion project of enormous ambition. Harpo co-produced Selma, Ava DuVernay's Oscar-nominated account of the 1965 voting rights marches. With a net worth exceeding $2.5 billion, Winfrey is the wealthiest black producer in Hollywood history and one of the most influential figures in American media. At number 21 is Jerry Weintraub, the larger-than-life Hollywood impresario whose career spanned concert promotion, management, and film production across 5 decades. Born in the Bronx, New York, 1937, Weintraub produced The Karate Kid, one of the most beloved franchise films of the 1980s, and the Ocean's 11 trilogy, which grossed over $1.2 billion worldwide. His personal charisma, network of relationships, and pure force of will made him one of Hollywood's most colorful and effective producers. He died in 2015, leaving behind an autobiography and a career that read like Hollywood fiction itself. At number 20 is Alfonso Cuarón, the Mexican director-producer who has redefined what is technically and emotionally possible in contemporary cinema. Born in Mexico City in 1961, Cuarón's Esperanto Filmoj has produced films of extraordinary range. The intimate White to Mama Tambien, the operatic Harry Potter, and The Prisoner of Azkaban, the dystopian masterpiece Children of Men, the space epic Gravity, which won 7 Academy Awards, and Roma, which won Best Director, Best Cinematography, and Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars. Few producers anywhere combine artistic vision and commercial reach with such consistency. At number 19 is George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars and Indiana Jones, the founder of Lucasfilm and Industrial Light and Magic, and one of the most impactful figures in the history of popular cinema. Born in Modesto, California in 1944, Lucas's decision to retain the merchandising rights to Star Wars in 1977 was the most consequential business decision in Hollywood history, making him a billionaire and changing how studios structure deals with filmmakers forever. He sold Lucasfilm to Disney in 2012 for $4.05 billion. As a producer, his influence on visual effects, sound design, and the franchise filmmaking is incalculable. At number 18 is Jon Landau, a co-founder of Lightstorm Entertainment alongside James Cameron and the producing partner behind 2 of the highest-grossing films in cinema history. Born in New York City in 1960, Landau won the Academy Award for Best Picture for Titanic in 1998, still the 3rd highest-grossing film ever made. He then shepherded the development and production of Avatar over 12 years, which upon release in 2009 became the highest-grossing film in history. Avatar: The Way of Water in 2022 crossed $2.3 billion. Landau is a producer of extraordinary patience, technical mastery, and long-term vision. At number 17 is Shonda Rhimes, the most powerful black woman producer in the history of American television and film, whose Shondaland production company has generated billions of dollars in content value and reshaped who gets to tell stories on screen. Born in Chicago, Illinois in 1970, Rhimes created Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, and How to Get Away with Murder, anchoring ABC's primetime schedule for over a decade. Her 2017 deal with Netflix, reportedly $150 million, was a watershed moment in the streaming era. Bridgerton became one of Netflix's most watched series ever. Shondaland is one of the most valuable independent production companies in the world. At number 16, we have Robert Rodriguez, the Mexican-American filmmaker producer who shot his debut feature El Mariachi for $7,000 and sold it to Columbia Pictures for $1 million, launching one of the most independent and fiercely DIY careers in Hollywood history. Born in San Antonio, Texas in 1968, Rodriguez built Troublemaker Studios in Austin and produced Desperado, From Dusk Till Dawn, the Spy Kids franchise, Sin City, and Alita: Battle Angel. He has consistently championed Latino talent and told Latino stories on major screens. Rodriguez is the ultimate independent, a one-man studio who refused to wait for Hollywood's permission. At number 15 is Jerry Bruckheimer, the most commercially successful film and television producer in Hollywood history, with films grossing over $20 billion worldwide. Born in Detroit, Michigan in 1943, Bruckheimer co-produced the defining action blockbusters of the 1980s with Don Simpson before launching his own company to even greater heights. Pirates of the Caribbean alone generated over $4.5 billion. Top Gun: Maverick in 2022 became one of the highest grossing films of the year, over 35 years after the original. Bruckheimer is the gold standard of mainstream commercial entertainment, relentless, instinctive, and enormously successful. At number 14 is Guillermo del Toro, the Mexican filmmaker producer whose dark, fantastical, deeply human imagination has produced some of the most original cinema of the 21st century. Born in Guadalajara in 1964, Del Toro built Double Dare You Productions and has produced and directed films of extraordinary visual and emotional power. Pan's Labyrinth is widely regarded as a modern masterpiece. The Shape of Water won the Academy Award for Best Picture in 2018. His Netflix Pinocchio won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. As a producer of others' directors' work, including Mama and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Del Toro consistently champions bold, genre-defining vision. At number 13 is Frank Marshall, one of the most consistently productive and respected producers in history in Hollywood, whose career stretches from the earliest days of New Hollywood to the streaming era. Born in Los Angeles in 1946, Marshall has produced films crossing well over $10 billion worldwide. As co-founder of the Kennedy Marshall Company with Kathleen Kennedy, he has produced the Indiana Jones franchise, the Bourne franchise, Seabiscuit, and dozens of other prestige productions. Marshall is a producer's producer, a craftsman of impeccable taste, unshakable reliability, and genuine love for the filmmaking process. At number 12 is Tyler Perry, the self-made entertainment mogul who built Tyler Perry Studios into a 330-acre, 12-soundstage studio campus in Atlanta, Georgia, the largest studio in America owned by an individual. Born Emmett Perry Jr. in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1969, Perry grew up in poverty and abused before channeling his experiences into plays, films, and television that resonated powerfully with Black American audiences, largely ignored by Hollywood. His net worth exceeds $1 billion. His films have collectively grossed over $2 billion. Tyler Perry built his entire empire on his own terms, without Hollywood's help and without Hollywood's permission. At number 11 is Lily Finney Zanuck, who together with her husband Richard D. Zanuck produced Driving Miss Daisy, the film that won the Academy Award for Best Picture in 1990. Born in Leominster, Massachusetts, Zanuck is one of the few women to win the Oscar for Best Picture, and she did so at a time when female producers were extraordinarily rare at the Academy level. The Zanuck Company has produced some of the most critically and commercially successful films of the past 4 decades. Lily Finney Zanuck is also a past president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, one of the most powerful positions in the industry. At number 10 is Ava DuVernay, the first Black woman to direct a film nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture, and one of the most influential producers and directors working in American cinema today. Born in Long Beach, California in 1972, DuVernay founded Array Filmworks to produce, amplify, and distribute films by and about people of color and women. Selma brought the Selma to Montgomery marches to global audiences. 13th, her documentary on the American prison system was described as essential viewing by critics worldwide. When They See Us reached over 23 million Netflix accounts. DuVernay is using cinema as a tool for justice and doing it at an enormous scale. At number 9 is Spike Lee, a filmmaker producer whose 40 Acres and the Move film works has been one of the most politically charged and artistically daring production companies in American cinema since the mid-1980s. Born in Brooklyn, New York in 1957, Lee produced and directed Do the Right Thing, widely considered one of the greatest American films ever made, along with Malcolm X, 25th Hour, and BlacKkKlansman, which won him his first Academy Award. Lee's career is inseparable from the history of Black America. He has made the films American cinema didn't want to make, and the world is vastly richer for it. And number 8 is Steven Spielberg, the most commercially successful director-producer in the history of cinema, whose Amblin Entertainment and DreamWorks have produced films crossing well over $30 billion worldwide. Born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1946, Spielberg invented the summer blockbuster with Jaws in 1975, then reinvented prestige Hollywood with Schindler's List, which won Best Picture and Best Director in 1994. He co-founded DreamWorks Pictures in 1994. As a producer of other filmmakers' work, his credits include Back to the Future, Gremlins, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Men in Black. Spielberg is by any measure the most important single figure in the commercial history of American cinema. And number 7 is Donna Gigliotti, one of the most decorated female producers in Academy Award history, with Best Picture Oscars for Shakespeare in Love and Silver Linings Playbook, and nominations for The Reader and Hidden Figures. Born in New York, Gigliotti spent formative years at Miramax before establishing herself as a fully independent producing force. Hidden Figures, the story of the black women mathematicians at NASA, grossed over $235 million worldwide on a $25 million budget, one of the most remarkable returns in recent Hollywood history. Gigliotti consistently backs stories about women's intelligence, dignity, and power, and backs them successfully. And number 6 is Francis Ford Coppola, the director-producer whose American Zoetrope helped birth the new Hollywood movement and produce what many consider the greatest film ever made. Born in Detroit, Michigan in 1939, Coppola founded American Zoetrope in 1969 with George Lucas, creating a filmmaker-owned alternative to the studio system. The Godfather Part 2, and Apocalypse Now collectively represent one of the most extraordinary stretches of artistic achievement in cinema history. As a producer, he nurtured Lucas, helped launch THX, and championed independent filmmaking across 6 decades. His 2024 passion project, Megalopolis, demonstrated an artistic ambition that has never dimmed. And number 5 is Jeffrey Katzenberg, the producing executive who oversaw the Disney renaissance of the late 1980s and early 1990s, then co-founded DreamWorks Pictures and built DreamWorks Animation into one of the most valuable animation studios in the world. Born in New York City in 1950, Katzenberg's tenure at Disney produced The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King, transforming the studio's fortunes entirely. At DreamWorks Animation, he oversaw the Shrek, Madagascar, and Kung Fu Panda franchises, which together grossed billions. DreamWorks Animation was sold to NBC Universal for $3.8 billion in 2016. Katzenberg is one of the defining figures in the history of American film production. At number 4 is James Cameron, the Canadian-American director-producer who holds the distinction of making 3 of the 5 highest-grossing films in cinema history. Born in Kapuskasing, Ontario in 1954, Cameron founded Lightstorm Entertainment and has spent his career pushing the absolute boundaries of what is technically possible in filmmaking. Titanic cost a then record $200 million and grossed $2.2 billion. Avatar cost $237 million and grossed $2.9 billion, the highest grossing film of all time until Avatar: The Way of Water. His personal net worth exceeds $700 million. Cameron is a producer-director of almost reckless ambition, and a track record that makes the ambition look entirely justified. And number 3 is Jason Blum, the founder of Blumhouse Productions and the most disruptive force in modern Hollywood economics. Born in Los Angeles in 1969, Blum pioneered the micro-budget profit-sharing model, making films for $1 million to $5 million and keeping their commercial risk almost zero, while their upside proved virtually unlimited. Paranormal Activity cost $15,000 and grossed $193 million. Get Out cost $4.5 million and grossed $255 million and won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. Blumhouse has grossed over $6 billion on combined budgets of under $100 million. Blum didn't just produce great films, he invented a new business model for making them. And number 2 is Marta Rodriguez, the Colombian documentary filmmaker and producer who is without question the most important figure in the history of South American social documentary cinema. Born in Bogota in 1933, Rodriguez spent over 50 years producing and directing films about the indigenous communities, displaced peoples, and working poor of Colombia, often at great personal risk during some of the most violent periods of Colombian history. Her 1972 film, Caracoles, documenting the lives of brick-making families, is considered a masterpiece of all documentary cinema and one of Latin America's most important films. Rodriguez has never had a blockbuster or a Hollywood deal. She has something rarer, a body of work that changed Colombian society. At number 1 is Walt Disney, the greatest producer in the history of North and South America, and arguably the history of the world. Born in Chicago, Illinois, on December 5, 1901, Walter Elias Disney built an entertainment empire from a single animated rabbit that became a mouse. Mickey Mouse debuted in Steamboat Willie 1928, the first synchronized sound cartoon in history. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 1937 was the first feature-length animated film ever produced, and virtually everyone in Hollywood told him it would fail. It became the highest grossing film of its time. Disney produced Fantasia, Pinocchio, Bambi, Cinderella, Peter Pan, Sleeping Beauty, and Mary Poppins, each one a landmark achievement in animation, music, and storytelling. He revolutionized the theme park industry with Disneyland. He pioneered nature documentary film, and he was the first major studio head to embrace television. He died in December 1966, before Epcot and before the full globalization of his vision. But the company he built was soon acquired Pixar for $7.5 billion, Marvel for $4 billion, Lucasfilm for $4.05 billion, and 21st Century Fox for $71.3 billion, making the Walt Disney Company as of 2026 the largest entertainment conglomerate in human history, with a market capitalization exceeding $200 billion. No producer in the history of the Americas, North or South, has created more, risked more, failed more, and recovered more, or ultimately built more than Walt Disney. He is number 1, and it's not close. And that concludes KCA Productions Countdown, the top 40 movie producers of all time, from North and South America, from 1960 to 2026. These are the men and women who made the films. They raised the money when no one believed. They protected the vision when studios pushed back. They took the financial risk so that directors could take a creative one. Without great producers, there are no great films, and these 40 individuals gave the Americas and the world some of the greatest films ever made. If you enjoyed this KCA production video, please subscribe to our channel right now and share this with every film lover you know. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one.